All right, it's been a few days. I'm gonna really save y'all a lot of time in just watching me go through the process of figuring out what in the world went wrong with this transmission replacement, because I was under the impression that I needed to put a computer in there because I just felt like the issue was a logic problem, and it doesn't seem that way at the moment. As days progressed, I got a lot more hyper focused on what I had going on, and I got tangential. Just had a lot of stuff on my mind, and wasn't hyper focused on what I needed to look for, and I kind of chased my ass a little bit. So with that said, the one thing that helped me out was the code P1 I'm so P1810. P1810. That's what helped me out a lot after driving it manifesting, and the car shifting like it was supposed to. So let me show you what I found out. So there's like confirmation PIDs here. So the IMS, which is like the gear selector module, something like that, but it's the gear selector inside of the transmission. This is what initially determines the position. All right, and so IMS and IMS, I think it's like internal manual selection or something like that, module selection. Those are what should reflect the shift solenoids. Should provide you with low, high signals. Like there should be a command, but the command isn't going to be given out if there isn't a confirmation. And the transmission fluid pressure switch is what offers that confirmation for engagement. So this will basically tell it what to do. This will eventually, this will effectively provide pressure to the appropriate passageway to indicate where the fluid is going. It's not happening with the transmission fluid pressure switch. So I hope you follow me. So you basically put it in drive 1, 2, or whatever. Fluid deviates from where it's going to a different pathway, and the transmission fluid pressure switch is supposed to reflect, but it's stuck at drive 2, because if everything's high with the shift solenoids, then that's what we're supposed to be, and that's proper. That's right. I suspected it was a PCM. I checked all my wiring. I did resistance value test. I did load test with the test light, and I was actually able to command some of the functions on there, and I was actually also able to change the functions. So I'm gonna show you in the transmission fluid pressure switch with my test light by grounding it out. All right, so the transmission fluid pressure switch is a diaphragm type device on a is on a tray, but when the fluid hits those passages, it pushes a button essentially, and it indicates where the fluid is going. That's as much as I can provide for you without having to like literally show you what it looks like. So if the fluid's not going there, then it's not going to reflect. Now the wiring is fine, the computer's fine. That was my fault. I shouldn't have replaced this computer. That was totally my fault. Because logically I'd imagine, okay, the transmissions look exactly alike. These can't be messed up transmissions. They can't be screwed up. Now things can't happen with the transmission, don't get me wrong, but when I'm thinking based off the wiring diagram that I wound up seeing for 2003, it does not have a transmission fluid pressure switch. That one has a transmission fluid pressure switch in it. This one doesn't. So I'm going to confirm that this doesn't have a transmission fluid pressure switch by looking at the diagram and doing a basic resistance test. I should have some loop continuity. I have this one set up So I'm on the appropriate pins. Let me see, I wrote it down. I'm supposed to be on U and R. I'm checking that for continuity, because at a static state, that should have bridged the connection from here to there. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So we're on U. I think we're going to R right now. Should be that one. I'm on it now. If I can hold it there. There we go. Got 44 ohms. So basically what this means, there's a transmission fluid pressure switch in this transmission. If the other one does not have those same values, this transmission doesn't have a transmission fluid pressure switch, and I essentially have the incorrect year transmission inside this vehicle. So I put the wrong transmission in here. I didn't buy it. My cousin took it upon himself to purchase the transmission. You know, things happen. I'd imagine if we gave him the VIN number, we'll be able to get the appropriate one, but to my ignorance, and I don't blame the store, their ignorance also, these were different transmissions, and I kind of have to blame the manufacturer. They have the appropriate year, even though this is a 2002. I don't know. I wouldn't know. If we gave them the VIN, I'd imagine they'll get the correct part, but I just don't want to point fingers, because there's just so many, there's just a minute detail of what should have happened that didn't happen that needed to happen, and this is where we're at now. So let me get hooked up on the connector, and just to make sure that I have a transmission fluid pressure switch inside that transmission. If I don't have any of the same continuity at its static state, yeah, transmission got to come back out. I ain't gonna lie, it was 60 seconds. I did this with a Toyota one time. What year was that Toyota? Oh man, I can't remember. It was a Camry or something. It was an easy replacement for one of the Toyotas I repaired. Put a transmission in, and it was two variations of the transmission. Put the wrong transmission in there, and I got to the last part of connecting the connector. It didn't work. So it ain't the first, but I just don't want this to happen. All right, so let me hook up. I could show you that I can apply this. It's 12 volt. I said 12 volt. It's 10 volt bias that goes to those NPR terminals. And if I ground it out, it'll actually change what's in the computer. Let me show you. So I'm grounding one out now. See, park neutral, I'm going to go over. Drive 3, I'm going to go over. Drive 1. So I mean, I can ground it out and it'll change, which means the circuit works. It's just the part that's supposed to be in there ain't in there. B. I think I'm missing one. I need to go over to the right. Top. I think make sure I got. Okay, all right, let's see what happens. This transmission is just the wrong one. No, let me see if I go to a wider one. Connection again. I'm gonna go back to the other one and just do the same check. Nothing. Nothing at all. So there's no transmission fluid pressure switch inside this transmission. And my feelings are hurt. It's like I pulled this back out. It ain't so bad the second time around with the same vehicle, but I don't want to have to do that. So now this was just my way of looking at the wiring diagram, how to determine if this transmission fluid pressure switch is inside of here. And again, my mind was just kind of off for a few days. I couldn't think straight. Had some mechanics block, or the equivalent of writer's block. I just couldn't think. And after a few days, I just formulated this game plan, because again, I was chasing my ass. So looking at the wiring diagram, at the static state, these two are supposed to be bridged, U and R. And we saw the resistance value for the old one. We should have something similar on the new one. And there's nothing. Just as the wire diagram state for this transmission for the 2002 Chevy Monte Carlo, those pins N through R are not used. But on the 2000 model, they are used. Even though it's the Ford T65E or something like that. I think I said the transmission right. They're different. So if anybody goes through this, hopefully they are able to determine if they have the appropriate transmission. This is a seemingly legit route if you don't know. And yeah, so my heart sank. But I'm gonna conclude this now that I know, and I'm just not going to question anything else. I just got to get my mind together to pull this transmission back out and maybe work something out as far as warranty replacement or something. I don't know. I hate that I was wrong when it came to making an assessment for the computer, but that logically, I just trusted that it looks the same, it's going to work the same, and I failed just like everybody else can. At least we know, and hopefully this definitely should help somebody out. But the car is old as hell. I don't think nobody's gonna go through this anymore. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have that research on my work, and see you on the next one.